This edition of Mac Voices is supported by Headspace. Meditation made simple. Visit headspace.com/MacVoices for a free 1-month trial. Welcome to Mac Voices Live. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we do Mac Voices Live every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and we do it on the Mac Voices page on Facebook and on MacVoicesTV channel on YouTube. I would love to have you join us. You can come and be in the Zoom room with us, or you can just hang out in the chat and lob comments and questions and thoughts at us that we try to respond to. We're like a bunch of monkeys just, waiting for some input. So let's go around and find out who's here tonight, and then we'll get into our topics. So first up, and I'll take my screen as I always do, Mr. David Ginsburg. David, good to have you as always.
Thanks for having me as always. Great to be here. Should have some good discussion tonight.
I believe so. For not his first time on Mac Voices, but his first time on Mac Voices Live, and he's still trying to figure out how he got here, Mr. Jim Ray. Jim, welcome. It's good to see you.
Yeah. This is my second Zoom thing today.
Good.
I have the green screen already up and everything ready to go.
Oh, great. Talk about a professional. Speaking of professionals, Mr. Jeff Gamet is here. Jeff, welcome.
Rock, I am always so happy to see you. Like, seriously.
Thank you. I'm a little worried about the standard of your life, if that's the case, but that's okay.
No, I have very high standards.
Oh, okay. Oh, good. Thank you. Last but absolutely not least, Ms. Kelly Guimont is back. Kelly, welcome. Good to see you as well. I know, as always.
Oh, me. Sorry. I was thinking about season 4 and 5 of The Muppet Show that Disney finally released today. Hi.
Okay.
I didn't realize they hadn't released those yet.
11 years. I've been waiting 11 years for season 4 and season 5. They showed us box art more than a decade ago, and they're finally just going to come to Disney Plus. But still get to watch them. At least I'll get to watch them, and
you'll have a busy weekend.
I think that's the first time that the word Muppet has ever been used on this show. But
I've been on this show more than once, so odds are slim.
Maybe so. So guys, I thought we might. We talked extensively about CES last week, but at that point we were in the middle of CES, and I thought it would be interesting just to do a real quick wrap up of CES. Not as much from the product standpoint because we did a lot of product picks last week, but feel free if there's something that came to your attention afterwards, but more about how the event went for you, either as somebody who tries to cover it for whatever outlet you do, or just as someone who's been observing from the outside. Was it as successful as past CESs, or is it something that you think could go virtual and still be effective? Thoughts? I'll throw it out to the group.
CES will, CES will go back to an in-person event as soon as they are able
possible.
To.
Yeah.
Yes. It is not an event that can long-term be virtual only. And it's the nature of what the event is and how it works for buyers and sellers. For me, I'm sure we possibly could do it as a virtual thing, but we won't have the discoverability that we had before, meaning the ability to walk up and down aisles and find those magical things that you just can't find any other way.
Yep. Agreed.
I think they could possibly even do this as a hybrid type of situation where they would offer the option of it be hybrid, so where they can do virtual and in person. I think that's a possibility that they could look into that. But I agree, you need the in person. I mean, and Chuck, you and I made comments too that it was hard to be able to talk to a lot of these people, get them to engage because they're behind a computer now. They couldn't. It was tough to get interviews for these folks for what we do. But I think that. I could see it being hybrid. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to probably end up, now that they've been on Zoom for all this time, Zoom or Teams or whatever, that I could see many other events might go that route to do that. So
I can definitely see the press piece being
Yeah.
continuing in a more obviously hybrid way, and not we are an in-person conference, but over on the side, like if you can't really make it, we're gonna try to do this virtual thing for people who aren't here. But I think some of the other events that are CES adjacent, your PepComs and your showstoppers, I think those continuing to have the online component are going to be, I think those are going to continue. And I hope that they do, because I was able to do a bit of CES this week or last week. And part of the reason I was able, even though I have a day job, is because it was virtual. Like if I have to choose, if the options are go to Vegas for a week and be more or less incommunicado with the day job, or do what I did, which is alternate between, then alternate between gives me any opportunity where otherwise it would be zero opportunity. So for me, it definitely worked out well as a press person to be able to take some of those meetings and talk about it competently with people on the podcast, as we did CES coverage last week on Daily Observations, and being able to ask those questions. I talked to those guys and they told me this interesting thing, and I wanted to follow up with you and see what your perspective was on it or something. I thought that was very helpful for me in my position, because I don't have 100% of my bandwidth to dedicate to CES when it's on. So getting the opportunity at all was really nice. So I hope that they continue at least the press coverage piece of it, because there's a whole other interaction group that happens at CES. There's buyers and sellers and like people there looking for, what Target's going to have for you this summer and what Best Buy is going to start carrying in store and things like that. And, like that all is stuff that totally needs to happen in person. And I can totally see that piece becoming on site as soon as possible. But I hope that the press piece continues to have a decent online component.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Kelly. Before I go any farther, I want to make sure I welcome Brittany Smith in. Brittany made it. She wasn't here last week. So, Brittany, we'll be looking for your CES impressions, if there are any, because I know you have other things to do. And also joining us any second now, I hope.
There he is.
I think.
Hello,
is
hello,
Mr.
hello.
Is Mr. Mark Fuccio. Mark, good to have you. Thanks for being here.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Chuck.
Yes, I like your background this week. That's
Apple's stock trading today, minute by minute.
Ooh, minute by minute. Okay.
Yes.
So we're in the middle of just a little bit of a CES wrap up discussion. Kelly, I agree with you. What you were saying. I think, but I also agree with Jeff. One of the great things about going to CES and walking around, you see a booth, and you think, I really want to talk to those people, but there are 20 people there now, and so I think I'll come back to that. And when you're in virtual, you can't really do that. You sort of had to get in line, and this is not a criticism of any of the people manning the chats for CES, because but there was no way of knowing how many chats they were trying to manage. Were they trying to manage 2 or 20? Had they taken a coffee break and hadn't signed out? Because I know there were times I'd open up one window and just leave it up there, and 20 minutes later I might get a response, and with answering a question, and then I'd wait another 20 minutes. Or the window would accidentally get closed, and now I've lost my conversation.
Yeah,
so,
and that's like a logistics thing that doesn't really have anything, like you said, like it's not them that's doing it. That's not like the online contingent. There's nothing that says there's 20 people in this Zoom room now. You sure? Like that would be fantastic, but there's no opportunity to tell that. You can't tell until you're in. So yeah.
No, and I like the idea that I will say this for all the events that I attended. Pretty much everybody had an option to click and watch a short video of whatever the product was. And
I like
I think, in only 2 cases, I almost wanted to write the vendor and say, look, I get it, the feel good stuff, the super calming backgrounds or the flashy lights are great, but I need to know what your product does. So that you need just a little more information, even if it's just a slideshow of bullet points. It would have been better off than me, traversing through the mountains or skiing down the slope. And I don't know what you're talking about. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, look, this was new. Everybody was trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
So hopefully we all learned some lessons on all sides. And if we do have to be virtual or partially virtual next year, everybody will have learned some of those lessons.
Yeah.
Chuck, once in the long past, Jeff Gamet, Gene McDonald, you and I had a talk about what vendors should do and not do in order to get noticed at trade shows. I think we did it after a Macworld, so that's how long ago it is. So don't know if that show is even up anywhere, but people can certainly, if they search for those set of names on MacVoices.com, it might probably bring it up out of the archives.
It's there, Mark, because everything is online still, and I will try to find out and make sure I put it in the show notes. And you're right. We've done a couple of those shows. I know Jeff and I have done a couple after CES events.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to give some tips and maybe shaking our heads at times about how could you how could you run out of business cards? I mean, how is that possible?
Jeff and I did a panel at Macworld one year with Steve Sandy and I don't remember who else about how the press can get our attention. So yeah, that was at Macworld when I was there for TUA. So yeah, let's make some dated references here, kids.
Yeah. But the advice still holds true, and the mistakes continue to be made. Jeff, were you jumping in there?
No, I was just kind of laughing to myself, thinking about how back when we still rode dinosaurs to go to the conferences, we were having this discussion. And the people making and representing products still are making the same mistakes they made.
Wait, you don't ride dinosaurs to conferences anymore?
No, we can only ride them around the block.
Oh my gosh, I need to get with it.
For quarantine too.
Yeah, there's I live in Boulder, so we have to use hybrids now. So I mean, it's like a dinosaur, but it's sort of like a mammal.
So I'm curious, Brittany, you, Jim, Mark probably falls in this category. You guys were not CES attendees, at least for the past few years, as far as I know. Did you feel like CES had any less impact from the coverage you were seeing or what was coming out? Did you get that same buzz, or was there just no buzz, or do you never get any buzz?
Okay, so in general, I try not to pay attention to CES at all. But I do get vibes of community people, and there was not the energy that people normally have when they talk about it this year.
Okay.
I think it also wasn't special, because it was more Zoom rooms, which we're all used to.
Yeah. Jim, how about you? Did you, where do you stand on CES past and present?
Well, I've never been to CES. It used to be it always conflicted with Macworld.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was usually at the same time. So I never got to go. And then by the time Macworld ended, it was kind of like trade shows. And, I always read, I think Jeff Porton writes a big write-up for Tidbits. That's usually kind of interesting. And, I subscribe to 75 RSS feeds. So I'd always see stuff. And there was a little bit this year. And I, it was sort of I was scratching my head. In fact, I was thinking about asking here. I didn't see last week's show, so maybe it would be repeating. I'm kind of wondering, when I saw that, they're doing a virtual CES, I was like, what? What on earth could that possibly be?
Well, it was just a case of the conference. I will say this. I think I was able to attend more panels or watch more panels because they were recorded, and I could do that, between things, as opposed to being on the show floor all the time and having to make that decision of, gee, that panel that the CEO of Best Buy, David and I, you and I talked about this, how good that panel was. And if that had happened in a real CES, I would never have seen it, or I would have hopefully seen it like a week later, maybe, because I would have been on the show floor. So there were some definite advantages to some of this. One observation I heard Dave Hamilton make on Mac Geek Gab, and I thought that was interesting, is that he was not as focused on CES. Yeah. Because when you're there, and that's it. When you're sitting at home, there still are the daily things coming in, other phone calls, other aspects of business that you are paying attention to, as opposed to just being able to say, hey, I'm in Vegas and I'll get back to you in a week.
Right.
Yeah, he said it was very easy to get distracted with other things, with his day-to-day work. Yeah. Because he's sitting at his desk, as opposed to when you're in Vegas, you're in Vegas. And I remember last year when we were there, and that's all the focus was. You didn't pay attention to anything else. That was what was going on.
Today's Mac Voices is supported by Headspace. Meditation made simple. The new year is the perfect time to start a new routine. If you decided to make one of those New Year's objectives to be less stressed, then Headspace is for you. Headspace is your daily dose of mindfulness in the form of guided meditations in an easy-to-use app. You can get started with as little as 1 minute each day. Yes, 1 little minute can start you on a path to cutting down on your stress, improving your sleep, and many other benefits. I know asking for an hour of your time to get started is out of the question. 10 minutes can be a challenge. Even 5 minutes can be tough. But 1 minute? If I can manage 1 minute, you certainly can too. I started with Headspace's most minimal options and found that I wanted more because of what I was getting out of it. The app is easy to use, Headspace is easy to use, and the results are, well, you need to find out for yourself. But suffice it to say that Headspace is backed by 25 published studies on its benefits. With over 600,000 five-star reviews, someone is getting something out of Headspace. One of those could be you. It should be you. You deserve to feel happier, and Headspace is meditation made simple. Go to headspace.com/MacVoices. That's headspace.com/MacVoices for a free 1-month trial with access to Headspace's full library of meditations for every situation. That's the best deal offered right now, so head to headspace.com/MacVoices today. Thanks to Headspace for their support of Mac Voices.
Yeah. I would think that might be more of a problem for CES than some other conferences, because the stuff at CES is, it's consumer gigas, it's not your life. Like if you go to WWDC, like even virtual, it still kind of takes over your life for a week, because that's, critical and you're studying it, and it's, whereas, okay, there's a new sound bar for a television. Okay, that's not gonna, change my life in any big way. And I could imagine that, if you're there, you're there, you're going to concentrate. But if you're not there, I would imagine, it's got to be a lot more difficult to stay focused on it, unless you're a buyer for Target or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of an interesting reverse lesson. Before this all happened, before the pandemic, there were so many people who criticized people who went to concerts, went to shows, went to the movies, and they're sitting there staring at their phone. And it's like, put the phone down and be present. And so now we can't be present. We have to be virtual. And we're here complaining about, gee, we couldn't be present. It's like, okay, we're a bit schizophrenic and can't decide what we want. But I think there's a good lesson there to be learned that, as Dave said, because he wasn't there, he didn't 100% focus, and that presents an issue. Hey, thanks, Jeff.
Well, but also part of that is like your mindset, right? Like if David taken his laptop and sat in a different location, like if I went to the kitchen, or to the dining room or something, like while I was attending CES, right? So my regular notifications aren't happening and all that. Like part of what makes CES work as when you are here, you are 100% CES 100% of the time, is, you're in Las Vegas. You're not home where somebody can tell you to empty the dishwasher. You can't hear, you're not there to keep an eye out for Amazon, like on and on and on. Like your regular life stuff isn't happening because you're not at home, taking part in your regular life. So I think that probably has something to do with it as well. Like your regular, like your context has also changed.
Absolutely.
Oh,
sorry.
Oh, Brittany, you haven't had a chance to really talk yet.
Well, no,
I'll wait for you.
The conference that I'm on the committee for that we had in November virtually, I know people who checked into a hotel for the weekend because that was the only way their kids weren't going to break in every 2 seconds. And it sort of felt like a time away, and they were in a different environment. They could focus a lot better. And plus they sort of got a date night. And there were a lot of benefits, and the folks who didn't really struggled to keep things separated. But about the chat and the being on your phone at the event, we had a whole bunch of younger people say, "Hey, could we have a chat going on during live presentations next year?" which was interesting, and we are looking into it.
Well, that's, again, I think we all need to step back and learn some lessons from these events. Jeff, you were going to jump in after Brittany.
Yes. One thing that to me has always been critical at CES, and a lot of people can look at this and think, no, you're just saying that because, fun parties. The after hours events were so valuable. And yes, you're going from event to event, and there's buffets and free drinks and music and all of that. Yes, but those are all just pretenses to attract people, to get them to go to the different things. And what really matters is, who are you going to meet when you're at that specific after hours event? And some of the best connections that I made happened away from the expo itself and at one of those after hours events.
Yeah, agreed. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you, Mark. You said a little something, but I wanted to see if you had anything to add before we move on. Oh, you're muted. I know Mark was doing a little microphone maintenance.
Okay. How is this? We're back.
That's good. Now we're talking.
Okay, unmuted. So you missed all the brilliance, and I forgot to write it down. So I think the question was impressions on CES this year versus in other normal years. I think this year, I haven't been there for a while, but in past years, there seemed to be much more news floating out and reporting, and all the news in my RSS reader at the various sites. It seems to be a little bit more muted this year, relatively speaking. Plus, also in the past, you would be on the show floor and you launch 30 or 40 or 50 different short little videos that you presented view into all sorts of new and interesting companies and products. And clearly that's missing this year too. So I'd say overall it seems muted. But in many ways, for many of us here, we're not in the electronic resale business. So
right.
The real question is, do the buyers and the vendors, how do they feel it went? Because I think it was James had said that there's a number of speaker systems and other things that seem to be picked up uniformly everywhere, but that seems to be just a minority of what was going on at the show.
Yeah, and I think Mark, you're right. I think that it's we're talking here as people that cover it from a more of a press standpoint, and maybe a casual observer standpoint. I think it is going to be real interesting to see what kind of feedback they get from the exhibitors and the people that do a different kind of a more commerce oriented business at the show.
Yeah, because we're just a segment. Like, we're not even covering the consumer tech of it. We're covering the Apple related or even Apple adjacent consumer tech of it. So we're not there for the TVs and the Xboxes and the, whatever else it is the young people get announced at CES. I don't know. But like we're not even part of that segment of it. We don't care about the new 200-inch diagonal, half-inch thick television that you can roll up and mail around in a shipping tube, or whatever. There's always some bonkers TV that's there. Jeff knows.
Single year.
Every year there's some crazy pants television, and like that's not even the part that we're there for. So I think like you guys are saying, like it's not really up to us. It's what do Best Buy buyers and Target buyers and those folks who make deals on the floor of those shows, what do they have to say about it?
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the CES wrap up. And so I guess I for one, I was going to speak for everybody here, but I really want to be back in Vegas next year. Packed in, solid the way it was. It's tough. It's a beating, but it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of great people and you see some really interesting products and have some amazing conversations. So
I just want to go raise some hell with Chuck in Vegas next year. That's really all it comes down to.
Kelly, there's nothing like raising hell in Vegas with Chuck. It's the best.
True. I know you want to move on, Chuck, but David did get some stuff from somebody that he spoke with at CES, and I kind of want to find out more about it. Because there was an AirPods case and
if you're okay with
a phone case.
Sure.
If you want to take a second.
Sure.
Yeah. First off, I got this is the what do they call this? They're calling it the Presidio Clickflip. This is a case for your AirPods Pro. And it's pretty solid. I mean, you push this button, it opens it up, and as you see, the case is in there, and it keeps it very secure. It pulls right out when you need to, and it does adjust up and down on here. So it's pretty nice. I don't know. I'm kind of questionable about how the case kind of opens because I don't know if you could see that, but it kind of slides with the piece that's here.
Oh, okay.
As opposed to it being like just a flip and it goes in here. So, and this slides out and and it all comes out here. So, I mean, it's not a bad little case. I mean, they did provide a little light so you can at least see, what the charging status is here on the outside. And then they did put a for the port on the bottom too. And it does Qi charge too, so I'm put this on the MagSafe and it is charging, so it does give that too.
So much like a dental floss case.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I mean,
you can buy stickers on Etsy that say like apple flavored dental floss on them, so that you can just stick it there and lean in. Yeah,
I bought some. And I lost them before my AirPods showed up because this was when they were new and in back order, and I've never found them.
That's sad.
I know. I bought two more pairs of AirPods since then.
Still no stickers.
Can you hold that up again?
Yeah. So there's how it comes apart. I took the AirPods Pro case out and it just assembles in place here. And then this clip here is going to lock it in place. You just push it down, and then that's what releases it, and it slides up and down when the case opens up.
That's
nice.
Why does it do that?
So I have a question.
Yep.
Is demand for cases to put the case for your AirPods? Is that a problem, or is that a solution is that a solution to a problem, or is that a solution looking for a problem?
I think it's more for protection than anything else, because these, when you drop these, they could easily crack very easily, and this is a very durable case. Plus, it's got the little eyelet here that you can attach it to your purse or to.
I like the hook
loop if you want to. The hook.
And how much does it retail for?
This is only I think it was only $29. Not very expensive.
And is it available today?
It is. Yeah.
At Amazon or presumably, or
Amazon. Yeah, it's the Presidio Clickflip
from Speck.
I'm assuming you don't think your AirPods case should look like the Millennium Falcon, like all beat to crap, which I think is what a true AirPods case should look like. Trust me, you can drop them a lot.
I'll tell you another thing, and Mark, you bring up, I think, a great point. That's a question we should be asking about a lot of things. But I found, and I've had an interesting little problem. I've had multiple pairs of AirPods, and they're impossible to tell apart. But if I get a different colored case for each one, I know which AirPods are which. Yeah. And I will say the carabiner hook is kind of nice to make sure that, I know women who use AirPods, and in the case of women, the carabiner can hook onto the top of their pocketbook, so the case doesn't go the whole way to the bottom. Pocketbook, purse.
Who has a pocketbook? What is a pocketbook?
I'm just saying that I've
it's old school. That's all.
I've seen people spend hours digging through purses looking for things.
This is true.
This holds them right up there. So there are some functional aspects to it, even though it might seem frivolous, but I don't think it really is.
Mine aren't here right now, but I used the clip. I got the 12 South leather snap pouch that you can tuck your AirPods into. I don't have Pros, and I'm failing at talking myself out of buying a new pair. The case that I have has the little clip on the top, and I use the clip to put a tile on them so that I can find my AirPods later, because that's a very helpful thing to have.
Hey, you can do that.
So I use that. I'm investigating a case now that has a little pocket in it where you stick the tile so it doesn't have to dangle off the side. But I really like the clip, and I like the case of them because in the before times, for example, Brittany and I are at karaoke, and now I can tell my AirPods from her AirPods because hers are in that case and mine are in this case. And when we get together, there's a bunch of Apple nerds. So it's the same thing as having an interesting...
Mine could have had a dental floss sticker. I just don't know where it is.
But also, it's the same sort of thing as phones, right? I have a particular case on my phone, and that helps when everybody sets them on the table while we're eating dinner. When that's a thing again, it's easy to tell whose phone is whose. It's just nice. So,
yeah. And Paul in our chat room just said, backpack, which is absolutely true. It keeps your AirPods wherever you want them on your backpack.
Oh yeah, that drives me crazy. I bury them in my backpack all the time. I'm digging. Freaking out where my AirPods? I lost them. If I got it hooked on a loop in there, it's easy to grab them.
Yeah. 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 Seems like a little thing, but. So.
And then just real quick, the case they sent me to, this is the Presidio Perfect Clear. Everybody can see that on the camera. It is really clear. I'm actually impressed. I had it last year. It doesn't feel as gritty as the one I had last year, because the one I had from last year's CES for my 11 Pro Max, it started getting not so clear after a little time. So the way I'm looking at this, it just seems like it could hold its clearness better. It does claim on the box, it says MagSafe fast charging compatible, but yeah, it's not going to stick to the phone. It's just like any other case. You have to have a MagSafe case. Yeah, I can put the MagSafe charger on here, and it is charging, but it's not. See how it's very loose. Mm-hmm. So be careful. Don't hold it, because the phone will go right to the floor, because it's not.
Right. Okay.
Completely attaching to it, but overall, nice little case. I like the way it feels in my hand. It's not too bad. I had a real cheapy case that I had bought originally when I got the iPhone 12 Pro Max, but yeah, not bad.
Clear, has the lip around the front if you put it face down.
Yeah, looks good. And this case is I think what was $30 too. Wasn't too bad. Or $35. Yeah.
Speck has a good reputation for making stuff like that, solid, thoughtfully designed products that are reasonably priced.
And it says it's good to 13 feet drop rate, so that's
test it.
With your phone, Jeff. Yes, happy to.
You test it on your phone.
Yeah, Chuck, can I borrow your phone real quick?
Today.
No,
thank you, David.
I'm taking my phone and I'm putting it in my pocket where it's safe, and away from Jeff. That wraps up the first part of this MacVoices Live discussion. In part 2, we leave CES behind and start looking at some of the rumors and possibilities for a Macintosh redesign, both laptop and desktop. The panel has lots of opinions on what they would like to see and some surprising opinions on what they don't want to see. That's next time on Mac Voices. I hope you'll join us. Until then, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.